Merry Christmas. I'm the Reverend Denise Cawley. My pronouns are she and hers, and you are all so welcome here tonight. We have a lot of surprises. I want to remind you of a couple things. Tomorrow there is no in-person service, but join us at 10 a.m. on YouTube, where we will be treated to a story hour from many of you and some lovely music. I am so happy you're here. I believe I see Charlie Vernon from the Chicago Symphony Orchestra is here tonight. My mother is here tonight, and my partner, Reverend Matt, is here, and he's going to help us out. I'd like you all to turn to the camera behind you. Just stay sitting and just wave to Prairie UU Society, and Luis will tell you when you stop waving. So Prairie UU in Madison, Wisconsin is joining us tonight. So there's also a couple churches in our UU land that are joining us that don't have power, and I told them that they could come this evening online and join us. So with all of the bitter weather, we're all helping each other out tonight. So make sure you tune in for the story service. It starts at 10 a.m. on YouTube, or you can watch it anytime you want. It's going to be amazing. And we'll also have a YouTube service on New Year's Day. Neither of those will be in person. This first piece is by the Reverend Teresa Ninan Soto, titled, "It Doesn't Seem Like Much." One emperor, one mandate, one census, two people traveling, and a young woman very, very pregnant and feeling every bump on the road, every vertebrae of the laden donkey, and arriving to their destination late in purple light, lit by one bright star and so many cold shoulders. No, they said, no room at the inn. Not good news for someone here and someone so near. What about the backache and the contractions near to giving birth? And sometimes that moment is exalted as the advent arrival of the liberator. But the truth is that dullness of heart, flatness of courage is the same as the same as cold shoulders and rolling eyes and doors blithely thrown shut. No angel, no astrologer, no star, no sheep can convince a heart closed to the natural yes of people around us, the neighbor, kin, and about to be friend. What can we liberate if we cannot see the journey as an example of our own? Throw open the door, make ready the space. Love as though there is no other medicine. What if you are not a religious innkeeper, but instead the manager, the stable, the haven of rest?
Tonight is also the seventh night of Hanukkah, and I will read the blessings first in Hebrew and then in English, and then like the menorah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosov, v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who made us holy through the commandments and commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehazah nisim la'avotenu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who performed wondrous deeds for our ancestors in those ancient days at this season.
We have also been building an Advent scene the whole season, adding first the shells and stones and bones, and then the greens for the plant kingdom, then the animals, and then the humankind. So if you're a guest here, you can check that out later. And I am going to light the Advent candles. We're not going to sing the song that we've sang every week because tonight's the end of the Advent season. But I am going to tease you a little bit, and we're going to remember the order they light in, right? Purple, purple, pink, purple. All right, so you can say it as I light them.
We light our chalice tonight with these words by Reverend Dan Lambert. We gather on this Christmas Eve as fellow sojourners, looking for light, for hope, for peace, and for love. We gather as people from many backgrounds, many faiths, many cultures, and many spiritual paths. But as we light this chalice, we gather as one body, looking to the Nativity for its message to all of humanity. Its message that there is light, there is hope, there is peace, there is love.
I think a lot about Mary, the mother of Jesus, this time of year. What she must have been going through. The terror of bringing a child into the world while living under occupation. The threat of a sexual scandal hanging over her. The stress of raising a child you know is going to be special. A baby who is both your baby and not your baby. Mary's not meek and mild. She's singing protest songs to the child as he grows in her womb. She agreed to give birth to a child of God, but did she get what she was saying yes to? Was her yes one of full consent? She is afraid, and she doesn't fully understand what she's committed herself to. I really wonder if she would have known. Would she have done anything differently? Sometimes we are called to do something that is immeasurably difficult. We don't understand, and yet we say yes. May we sing songs of protest about removing tyrant rulers from their thrones. May we lift up causes that center the most marginalized. May our yeses be passionate. May we be afraid and pursue justice anyway. Tonight, I will be playing Mary as she thinks back to a long, long time ago when she was giving birth, and she will be with Joseph, who will be played by my partner, Reverend Matt. We'll be reminiscing tonight. So get ready to hear the story a little bit different this year. Now, I've heard we've had a few technical difficulties. Is there anything I need to know? Nope, we're great. Bless Jeff and Louise tonight. Yes. I'm going to invite Melanie, our worship associate, to start us out.
Tonight, I invite you to imagine yourselves there that holy night when two parents had their first child. We try to imagine what went through their minds and hearts of the parents of Jesus in the months leading up to his birth. Tonight, we will read from scriptures written 50 years after Jesus died by someone who did not even know him. It is likely that the writer also imagined what that night must have been like and told a story that gives us his image of that prophet's birth. This is an imagined conversation based on what we know about new parents and about first births. We begin with a reading from the Gospel of Luke that takes us back to a time about 9 months before the birth of Jesus.
In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to Mary. And he came to her and said, "Greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you." But she was much perplexed by his words and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. The angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And now you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be an amazing, caring human and will be called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord God will give him the throne of his ancestor, David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom there will be no end." Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I do not know a man?" The angel said, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be holy. He will be called Son of God. And now your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has conceived a son, and this is the 6th month for her who was said to be barren. For nothing is impossible with God." Then Mary said, "Here I am, servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word." Then the angel departed from her. Please join us from your seats in the gray hymn book, hymn number 238. Hymn number 238. Join us. Within your shining hearts,
It began so strangely. First there was that dream. Do you remember, Joseph?
I remember, Mary. That dream you told me about. The dream about the angel.
Yes, but you know, I've never been so sure it was a dream. It felt so real. I was so young and innocent and so confused. I did not know what was going on. I did not know what was happening to my body or me. I really needed Planned Parenthood or OWL classes, our whole lives training. When I discovered I was with child, I was terrified. Here I was, a teenager, pregnant, not married, and it was not just a scandal, it was so dangerous. According to our laws, I could have been put to death for being pregnant and unmarried. If it had not been for the protection of you, my dear old friend, I don't know what I would have done. Do you remember, Joseph?
I remember, Mary. Your parents were so angry, and you were so very young and frightened. When you came to me and told me your troubles, I promised to marry you as soon as possible. I suggested you visit your good cousin Elizabeth. She was 6 months pregnant herself, though so old no one had thought it possible. I knew Elizabeth's motherly heart would understand. I knew she would take you in no matter what. Do you remember, Mary?
I remember, Joseph. I left home as soon as possible. Elizabeth knew right away that I was pregnant. She said that when she heard my voice, the child in her leapt for joy. My heart was so moved by her welcome that finally I felt my own joy at becoming a mother. Happiness filled my heart until an ancient song rose to my lips, the song that our ancestress Hannah sang at the birth of Samuel.
In the Gospel of Luke, the song of praise Mary speaks to her cousin Elizabeth is indeed based on the song of Hannah from the Jewish scriptures. Hannah was the mother of Samuel, a great prophet. Here is what Mary said according to the Gospel of Luke. For he has looked with favor on the lowliness of his servant. Surely from now on, all generations will call me blessed. For the mighty one has done great things for me, and holy is his name. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and to his descendants forever.
Oh, Joseph, what a miracle. Cousin Elizabeth wrapped her arms around me. She took me in just as you said. Her husband, Zachariah, might have had something to say about my condition if he'd been able to speak, but he couldn't because, as he explained later, the angel had announced his son's birth, and he was angry at him and cursed him with muteness. Myself, I think he had been just speechless with joy ever since Elizabeth told him she was expecting. Whatever the reason, Elizabeth and I didn't mind his silence about my pregnancy.
You've always preferred a quiet man, haven't you, Mary? Yeah.
Yes, I suppose that's why I love you so much. It helps to have a quiet man around when one likes to give little sermon speeches like my speech to Elizabeth. I stayed with Elizabeth for 3 months until I hoped it had all blown over, until I thought I could return home in peace. Do you remember, Joseph?
Yes, I remember, Mary. It was a long time to be parted from you, my future bride and love of my heart. But in the end, you were going away. Your going away was a good thing. When you returned, we hoped you were out of danger from the narrow-minded, but I am not sure that trauma ever leaves you. We were always looking over our shoulders. So often in this life, we long for peace, for the understanding of others, for kindness of heart.
That is true, Joseph, and it is true in every age, in every land, in this great world of ours. If all people would reach out in love, be curious about others and interested in the welfare of all, including those unlike themselves, we would all find peace.
Join us in hymn number 246 in your hymnal. Verse 1 and 3. It wasn't just Mary and Joseph who were having a hard time back then. Jews in Israel had been suffering for centuries under the rule of foreign empires. Again and again, the Jewish people had to fight those empires for the right to their beliefs, their religion. They felt tired and defeated. They wrestled with despair. Through those long centuries, many must have felt that the Holy One had abandoned them. They longed to feel the presence of the divine among them. Though our circumstances are different, many of us have felt tired and defeated. Many of us have felt despair and longed for a comforting presence to be with us.
The story from Luke's Gospel continues in this way. In those days, a decree went out from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a child.
Mary, even after your return, people were often cruel to you, and you were sometimes frightened about giving birth. Giving birth was a dangerous thing in those days. So many women died. When the decree came forth for us to go register, it was almost a relief to take you away from all of that gossip and to have time alone with you. I sang to you as we traveled to lighten your spirits and mine. Do you remember, Mary?
Yeah, I remember, Joseph. You were so kind to me. And it's true, it was a relief to get away from all those wagging tongues. But you didn't worry as well.
Of course I did. My young fiance was pregnant, the great distance, the dangerous roads, the threatening Roman guards. And it was in the bleak midwinter, so dark and so cold. It felt as if we would never be warm again, as though the nights would keep growing longer and colder.
Kind of like tonight. Huh?
Yeah. Do you remember, Mary?
I remember, Joseph. So dark and cold, bumpy and uncomfortable, so many years ago.
In Luke's gospel, the story continues. While they were there in Bethlehem, the time came for her to deliver her child. And she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger because there was no place for them in the inn.
Look at us there, Mary. We were just kids.
I remember when we first caught sight of Bethlehem. You see it out there? Yeah. Woo! I was so relieved. My labor pains had started, and I didn't want to give birth on the side of the road. When we arrived, everything was so different from our hometown. We didn't know anyone. The night was coming quickly. Every single inn was full, and we had walked so long. I don't know what hurt worse, my belly, my back, or my feet. Such pain I had never felt before. Do you remember, Joseph?
I remember, Mary. I thought your thin fingers would break my carpenter hands as you squeezed them during your pains. I remember the kindness of the innkeeper who allowed us to stay in the stable below his home. It was nice and warm by the breathing of the animals. At least you were in from the weather, and we could have our baby alone and in peace. I did my best to make you comfortable. Do you remember, Mary?
I remember, Joseph. Like it was yesterday. Such a mix of feelings went through my heart that night. Fear, excitement, pain, and then the wonder of our tiny newborn baby. So small, I could hardly believe it. Remember his really pale, wrinkled old man hands, his deep, dark eyes, his tiny mouth. Do you remember, Joseph?
I remember, Mary. I remember thinking no woman such as you had ever lived, and no child such as this had ever been born. I remember looking at him and thinking, what child is this in Mary's arms? Who will he become? What sort of person will they be? A peacemaker? A carpenter? A scholar?
Shivering cold, I have no frankincense or gold to ease your burdens when you're old. What can I give to you? Dear little baby, joy of my heart,
continues the story, telling us what happened after this miraculous birth, telling us more about his visions of Jesus. In that region, there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood on the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all of the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was the angel, a multitude of heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth, peace among those whom he favors."
Join me with hymn number 231, Angels We Have Heard on High, all verses.
When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child laying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told about them, this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart.
This child, this precious child had come into our lives that night, there in that unexpected rough place in the bleak midwinter. It was such a miracle, I could have sworn I heard angels singing. And then those shepherds came to share in our joy. And they said they heard angels singing as well. Do you remember, Mary?
I remember, Joseph. I remember their kind faces, the milk they gave us, and the parenting advice they offered. Not that we followed any of their advice. We thought we knew everything there was to know about child rearing. Do you remember, Joseph?
I remember, Mary. Maybe my memory has been colored by time or by what came after, but it seemed when I looked into our child's deep, dark eyes that night, I could see the wisdom and the courage he would have as a man. Do you remember, Mary?
I remember, Joseph. It's not your imagination. His eyes held wisdom of the ages, even as a newborn baby. His eyes, they were beautiful. And he had the wisdom of prophets, the teachings, the Torah, but most of all, the wisdom that comes from having a kind and understanding heart. I think he inherited his heart wisdom from you, my dear.
Well, if that is so, then he must have inherited his courage from you. In my whole life, I have never had the courage you had as a young girl. You faced your fears, you bore this child in such difficult circumstances, and you raised a wonderful, brave, wise, gentle son.
As I remember it, Joseph, so did you.
Tonight, we have journeyed back through time and space to imagine what it was like that holy night, the night of the birth of the great, wise, compassionate prophet Jesus. If you have ever experienced the birth of a child, if you've ever held a newborn baby in your arms, you know the awe and wonder of witnessing the beginning of a life. You know the holiness of that moment.
Tonight, we take up an offering for a very special fund that we usually only collect for about once a year. It's the only day that we specifically ask you to fund the minister's discretionary fund. It's a source that we use discreetly. I use it right now, and the next minister will after me, and ones have before me. They're usually donations that we give out for very urgent matters. Sometimes these folks are from our own church or our community, and we've helped a few congregants who needed help paying rent or for a car repair or help with gas money or a medical supply. These needs are not within normal safety nets. We let others help with that. This is a special fund that ministers, and in our case, just me at this church, take care of determining who will receive funds. Now, I want to tell you something really special about a minister's discretionary fund. You have no idea the difference it could make. When I was in seminary, I needed a medical procedure I could not afford. I had no idea what I was going to do. Going without it would have meant an invisible disability that I would have taken on, and I simply had no other resources. And to my shock, a minister that I was pouring my heart out to had a check made out to my healthcare company, and voila, the procedure was paid for. And so looking back, that $600 that I got doesn't seem like that much, and yet it's a huge amount when you don't have another option. And for us, that was all Unitarian Universalists that helped me, a baby minister then, right, become what I am now. So you have no idea the difference that your funds will go and what difference they could make. So when you're lifting up love into these donations that the ushers are about to collect, I ask you to be generous. You might be giving peace and comfort and even preventing disability. You never know.
Will the children's choir come forward while the ushers take the pledge?
Mercy
I'm going to ask the ushers to come forward. And we'll have one last reading that Reverend Matt and I will do while we light the candles. So if the ushers could all come up here. I just want to remind you all, before you start this, do you have your candle? That when you get the candle coming to you, you do not tip the lit candle. Reverend Matt and I are going to demonstrate right now. The unlit candle tips to the lit candle. So the ushers are going to come and light your candles. I'm going to light theirs first.
As we begin our communion of light, I would like to share something with you from our dear friend, Lindsay Bates. It says it is our tradition at the close of Christmas Eve service to share the light, and that is what we are going to do as we sing Silent Night. We will all stay seated in our pews, and then while we sing, we will pass our Christmas light very carefully from one person to the next.
And while they're being lit, right, I'll do the poem.
Okay.
All right. Allison's very excited about this part.
As the light comes to you, and this is very important, tilt your unlighted candle into the flame, holding the burning candle upright at all times and steady. And now, receiving the light.
I will light candles this Christmas, candles of joy despite all the sadness.
Candles of hope where despair keeps watch. Candles of courage for fear ever present.
Candles of peace for tempest-tossed days. Candles of grace to ease heavy burdens.
Candles of love to inspire all my living. Candles that will burn all year long.
one last time. Just a moment. Will you please stand with your lit candles carefully and turn to the back so we can share our light with those who are watching? Hold your candles high as we pass our light to those who are watching from home. Thank you. You may now carefully extinguish your candles. And join me from your seats. No, let's stand. Let's stand. Number 245, Joy to the World, 2 verses, please. And now, let us not forget, as we celebrate Christmas tonight and tomorrow, that now the real work of Christmas begins. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, when the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the princes are gone, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. Merry Christmas and good night to all.